Hi, Gene here with today's thought. Today we go to the Middle East. I want to talk about the so-called two-state solution, which actually should be two states for two people solution. And the reason that people say two-state solution, well, you might think, well, first of all, it's shorter, but also because Palestinians refuse to recognize Jews as a people. So they want a state for the Palestinian people, and that's another story. There was no reference to Palestinians as a people before 1973, really, but that's, well, you can look at Resolution 242, the one that was passed in the UN after the 67 war, and it was about the status of the territories that Israel conquered. Actually, their own territory. They're the indigenous population. That's all the territory that they won, which they wouldn't have. It never would have happened if these Arab countries surrounding Israel had not attacked Israel. So that's why it happened. Before that happened, for instance, they're trying to divide Jerusalem now. It's not going to happen. But it was divided before 1967. If the Arabs, the Jordanians in this case, would have just accepted Israel as it was at the time, then the eastern part of Jerusalem would be controlled by Jordan. But that's all water under the bridge, as they say. So what I want to get to, though, this idea of a two-state solution, that it's, well, in short, it's a European project, and I guess an Arab project, the surrounding Arab countries, but it's neither the Palestinians don't want, well, the Israelis have given up on that. They know that that's not possible unless the Palestinians want to live in peace and recognize Israel as a Jewish state, whatever the final borders would be. And by the way, all the maps, all the government and school maps in the Palestinian Authority, they don't show Israel at all. It shows a country called, a mythical country called Palestine that goes from the Mediterranean Sea to the Jordan River. So the only reason they want a state is to use as a platform from which to attack Israel. And we know this because in the 2000 Camp David meetings between Ehud Barak and Yasser Arafat, presided over by then President Bill Clinton, and the Palestinians in these negotiations got 97% of what they wanted. Now, Dennis Ross was an aide to Bill Clinton at that meeting, and he was interviewed, and he said that the land, they talk about borders and land, and that wasn't a problem. The problem was at the very end of this agreement that was to be signed, there was a clause saying that this settles all matters between the Israelis and the Palestinians, or the Arabs who call themselves Palestinians. They're actually Egyptian and Syrian. But for instance, Yasser Arafat, Egyptian, born in Cairo, but that's another story for another day too. The point is that the Palestinians don't want a state to live in peace next to Israel. They want a peace. They just want a platform from which to attack Israel. The Israelis realize that, and they are to a two-state solution. But here is an interesting poll. Now, this was taken by the Palestinians, the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research. And look at these two figures here. 71, well, I have to talk about this. Two Israeli Jewish brothers were murdered by terrorists. Civilians were murdered by terrorists. This happened recently, and well, here we go. 71% of Palestinians support the cold-blooded murder of Israeli brothers Yigal and Hallel Yaniv while they were driving on a main road through Hawara. And this is another story, there was a riot after that. The Jewish inhabitants of that area, they rioted, unfortunately. First time it's happened, but in revenge, apparently, for this this murder, and those the Israelis, this is the difference. The Israelis condemned that riot. Nobody supported this, and it shouldn't have happened. And I condemn it too. But look at the Palestinians, the murder, the actual murder of the two brothers. 71% of Palestinians support the cold-blooded murder, and you can go on YouTube and not YouTube, you can go on Google and you can Google up some images of, well, this happens every time something like this happens when innocent Israelis, whether they be Jews or Arabs, because Obama on a bus does not discriminate between Arabs and Jews. They all ride the same bus. And, well, the Palestinians, the Palestinian Authority, they pass out candy. They celebrate and they pass out candy. And the mothers of these terrorists, if the terrorists get killed, as usually happens, then the mothers are proud that their sons became martyrs, and they call them martyrs, which is it's just a misuse of the word martyrs. A martyr is somebody like Jesus, an innocent, unarmed person who is killed. The brothers are martyrs, but they call them shaheeds. That's the Arabic word. And Muslims who murder infidels, they're called and are killed themselves in the process. They're called shaheeds, martyrs. But you see here, 71% of Palestinians support that murder. But the main figure I want to talk about today is the second one. Only 27% of Palestinians support the so-called, quote, two-state solution, unquote. And that's the point that I want to make. The Israelis don't support a two-state solution. The Palestinians, you just see in this poll, taken by a Palestinian organization, they don't support, they oppose, most of them oppose a two-state solution too. So who supports it? And the answer is Europeans, mostly the liberals in the West. And in our country too, that we have the Biden administration. They're pushing this two-state solution, and they're the ones who want it. That's the whole thing. It's time to move on. Just admit there's no such thing as a two-state solution. My personal preference is a protectorate, that the Israel, which is what they want to do, maintains the security of the area. Well, my full solution is recognize Gaza. Israel wants nothing to do with Gaza. That's not a traditional part of the kingdoms of either Israel or Judah. There were two kingdoms, so nothing to do with either of those. So and the Palestinians, the Arabs, they control completely there were some Jewish settlements there, Israeli settlements. They left in 2005. So recognize that's Palestine. Gaza is Palestine, and the rest, I would call it a Palestinian protectorate of Israel. So Palestinians can, as Netanyahu said, have all the powers of a state, all the rights and powers of a state. But actually, states don't have powers, including ours, United States. States have powers. Individuals have rights. That's what I meant to say if I misspoke. So the Palestinians, it would be a Palestinian protectorate. They would have all the powers of a state except the power to hurt Israel, which makes sense. The people have to realize that it's you have two things here. You have the desire for the Palestinians, well, not to govern themselves, but to destroy Israel. But they can't have that. But they can have the ability to govern themselves, but not to attack Israel. And you have to understand that between those two things, Israel's security comes first. That's the priority, and everything else, including Palestinians governing themselves, are subordinate to Israel's security. So Israel guards the borders. They would have where they are now, they would forget it's a fantasy that they're going to divide Jerusalem again. Forget that. So Jerusalem, and they would have the Jordan Valley. The Jordan Valley is on the other side, the border with Jordan, obviously, Jordan Valley. So the Israelis would ring this Palestinian state, just like many I think there's like 13 to 17, I forget the actual number of African states that are landlocked, that they are surrounded by, that they don't have a coast and they're surrounded by other states, and that's other African states, and that's the situation that would obtain in this Palestinian protectorate. And you have to remember also that if the Israelis left and the Palestinians were left to defend themselves, Hamas would conquer them in 5 minutes. And Mahmoud Abbas, by the way, the president, he's in I think the 17th or the 20th term of year of his 4-year term. He was elected for 4 years a long time ago, and he's still there. But he would be assassinated. He would be killed. His life would be forfeit. So those are my thoughts for today. I guess you got more than one. Thanks for stopping by. Look forward to seeing you again. And if you could subscribe, that would be great. Bye.